They say grief changes people. But what no one tells you is, it also changes the people around you. My name is Ryan, and this is my story when I was a child. When my father died, I thought the hardest part would be losing him. I was wrong. It wasn't the funeral that broke me. It was what came after. I flew home from college for the service, still numb. I hadn't even unpacked my bag when my stepmother, her eyes dry, voice sharp, told me not to bother staying. "The house belongs to me now," she said flatly. "And your father's will confirms it." I laughed at first. I thought it was some cruel misunderstanding. But then she handed me the document. A photocopy. Not notarized. No lawyer present. Just signatures. And there it was. Black ink on cheap paper, declaring that everything my father owned, the house, his company, his accounts, now belonged to her and her 2 sons from her first marriage. I stood in the living room I grew up in, the home where I took my first steps, and realized I no longer belonged there. They didn't just kick me out, they erased me. Photos of me were removed. My father's study was cleaned out. His journals, our pictures, his favorite books, gone. They kept his name, but not his heart. I stayed in a motel that night, staring at the ceiling, holding the only thing I had left, my father's old keychain. It didn't open any doors anymore, but I couldn't let it go. For a while, I tried to fight back. But I had no money. No proof. No lawyer who cared enough to challenge a will that, for all I knew, might have been real, or forged beyond reach. So I let go. I left the town. The pain. The past. With one suitcase and nowhere to go, I started over. At first, it was hell. I scrubbed restaurant kitchens. I delivered food. I slept in my car. I hid from people I once called friends. But I wasn't aimless. Every night, I remembered what they took. And every morning, I reminded myself, I'll get it back. Not just the house. Not just the company. But my dignity. My power. My father's legacy. Years passed. I didn't just rebuild, I transformed. I learned about finance, real estate, business strategy. I invested. I failed. I learned again. It wasn't a perfect rise. There were betrayals. There were losses. But through it all, I stayed hungry. Not for revenge, but for something deeper. Justice without noise. Fast forward 10 years. I'd grown into a quiet success. Wealthy, but not flashy. Strategic, but patient. And then one morning, over coffee, I saw it, a familiar address listed in a property auction. My house. My childhood home. It had gone into foreclosure. Turns out, they weren't just greedy. They were reckless. They drained the company dry. The stepbrothers got into gambling. The stepmother, lawsuits, loans, and desperation. And now, the home they stole was up for sale. I flew back without telling anyone. Sat in the back of the auction room. Watched people place hesitant bids. Then I raised my hand. No one recognized me. My name had changed. My appearance too. But when the final gavel dropped, the home was mine, legally, fully, quietly. And that was the beginning of the ending. 2 weeks later, I arrived at the house. They were still living there, oblivious that ownership had shifted. I knocked. My stepmother opened the door. Her eyes widened. She recognized me. Not immediately, but slowly. Like a nightmare resurfacing. "You," she whispered. I didn't say a word. I stepped in, looked around. Same furniture. Same old carpet. Same smell of cold memories. I handed her the deed. You have 30 days, I said. They begged. Pleaded. Tried to threaten. But it was too late. I wasn't angry anymore. I was calm. Resolved. And untouchable. They left quietly. Not because they wanted to, but because they knew, this time, I had all the power. And as I stood on the front porch, watching them drive away in the same car they once refused to lend me when I was homeless, I felt nothing. Not joy. Not sadness. Just peace. People think revenge is fire. But it's not. It's cold. Patient. Silent. They took everything my father left me. And I took it all back, without raising my voice once.